Have you ever been have you ever told yourself you were only going to scroll on your phone for 5 minutes and suddenly it's been 30? Or decided you were going to start going to the gym consistently, but after a few weeks it just stops happening? Situations like these are not just about laziness or lack of motivation, they are about habits. Today I'm going to explain how habits are formed, why they are so difficult to break, and how we can build better ones in our daily lives. As a college student, I've become really interested in productivity and building routines that actually stick. After looking into psychological and neuroscience research, I realized that a large part of what we do every day is not a conscious decision, it is a habit our brain has built over time. Habits are not just about willpower, they are patterns formed in the brain. Once we understand how these patterns form, we can understand why they are hard to break and how to rebuild them intentionally. First, I'll explain how habits form in the brain. Second, I will discuss why bad habits are so hard to break. Finally, I will share practical strategies for building better habits. Habits form because repeated behaviors create automatic patterns in the brain. Research shows that habits develop when we repeat a behavior in the same situation over time until it becomes automatic. In fact, one study found that it takes an average of 66 days for a behavior to become automatic, although the timeline varies from person to person. Researchers often describe this process being the habit loop, which includes a cue, a routine, and a reward. When we experience a cue such as boredom or stress, we perform a routine, like scrolling on our phone. The reward might be entertainment or distraction. Over time, the brain links those three steps together. Eventually, the behavior becomes automatic because the brain has built a strong pattern through repetition and reward. Understanding how habits form helps explain why breaking them can feel so frustrating and difficult. Bad habits are difficult to break because the brain begins to expect the reward and strengthens the behavior over time. Once a habit is formed, the brain starts anticipating the reward before the behavior even happens, which strengthens the craving for that habit. The more we repeat a behavior, the stronger those neural pathways become. This means breaking a habit is not simply about having more willpower. The brain has already created a strong and efficient pathway. Many bad habits are also connected to emotions like stress, anxiety, or boredom. When those emotions appear, our brain automatically turns to what feels familiar and rewarding, which makes the habit harder to resist. However, if habits are learned patterns in the brain, then they can also be reshaped with intentional effort. Positive habits can be built by starting small, staying consistent, and attaching new behaviors to existing routines. Consistency is one of the most important factors in habit formation, especially when a behavior is repeated in the same context over time. Experts also recommend a strategy called habit stacking, which involves adding a new habit onto something you already do daily. For example, instead of committing to an hour-long workout every day, you might start with 5 minutes after brushing your teeth. The existing routine becomes the cue. Starting small makes the habit easier to repeat, and repetition is what strengthens the brain pattern. Instead of trying to remove a cue completely, you can replace the routine while keeping a similar reward. Over time, the new behavior can become just as automatic as the old one. In conclusion, today we discussed how habits form through repeated patterns in the brain, why they are so difficult to break because of strong neural connections and expected rewards, and how we can intentionally build better habits by starting small and staying consistent. The next time you catch yourself doing something on autopilot, remember, it is not just about willpower, it is a brain pattern. And if your brain built it, your brain can rebuild it.